going to give you another little demo about lifting paint. This will have a particular reason. Sometimes when we paint rocks and things, they end up looking like, I don't know, baked potatoes or something. So if you look at a rock, especially if it has some sunlight on it, it's going to have the top part is going to be, yes, it'll have some color and some texture on it, but it'll be a little lighter maybe. And then as it goes away from the light or has cracks in it or other facets to it, you get a little bit different look to it. So just real quickly, a good way to do a rock, and then I'm going to use a tissue on this. This is just a Kleenex tissue. Also show you just a little mini way to do a cloud in a sky. So hopefully I can do that on the same paper. But let's start with a rock. A good basic rock color is maybe some raw sienna and some burnt sienna. A little burnt umber maybe. You don't want to get this too thick. If it's too thick, it'll be kind of gummy. So just a good basic wash. And just think of a rock shape. Sometimes the rocks have a hard edge at the top, so we'll make a kind of a hard edge, and we'll just kind of make it look like it's got some different areas here, different levels and angles. Oops, that's a little thick and a little too much paint, so I'm gonna, although actually it doesn't look too bad. You could just leave it like that. I'm going to add just a little blue to it to kind of gray it down just a little bit, a little maybe violet, just to put a different color in it. Okay. Also, when you do a rock, you want to make sure it's sitting in the ground. So we'll just make it look like it's not floating. Okay, now this particular rock, I decided that I wanted to have some texture on the top of it, lift it a little bit and also provide texture. So I take a Kleenex, just a plain old Kleenex, and you can wad it up and crinkle it and so forth. But if you do that, if you sit and wait just a minute, and as it dries, you can see how the paint is actually kind of oozing up into there, which is fine. And then just press your Kleenex onto that top of that rock and lift some of that color off. It will lighten it, but it'll also put some texture on it. Now, if for some reason you get something that you don't like or it just doesn't quite read right, you can always go back and put more paint. Put another layer of value there. Wait a little bit more. And you know what, sometimes I even use the palm of my hand, especially if the rock is bigger, or my thumb, to just get some different textures. Sometimes it lifts. If it's too wet, it'll lift too much. But the nice thing about this is you can kind of play with it, because you don't really care that if it's a rock, it's not going to be a perfect wash anyway. So you can actually, adding the texture and extra paint to it makes it even a little more interesting. Just a minute. Okay. I think that'll just about do it. Now, another rock I'm going to show you how to do also has some scraping and some spattering, but that's more of a little composition you can do. I just wanted you to see if you had just a little rock somewhere in your painting that you just wanted to add a little texture to, that's an easy way to do it. Now while we're here, I'm going to show you just a real simple way to do a sky as well. Let me clean that brown out of there. Using the tissue paper. Okay. My students tell me that clouds are hard to do. And so we spend a lot of times looking at cloud shapes. Actually, let me get a bigger brush. and noticing that they're not necessarily little cotton balls. They're not all white. They've got a lot of texture in them themselves. So, and depending on how busy you want your sky, you may want a calm sky, or you may want a sky that's sort of a sky with some storm clouds and so forth in it. Or you want the emphasis to be on the foreground, not so much the clouds in the sky. So if you have a basic wash for your sky, you can take a Kleenex, and actually I like to mist it just a little bit. Sometimes if it's dry, it'll lift too much paint. And that has some brown on it. That probably won't hurt. So I kind of wash it, and this is one of those cases, if you wait too long, you know, you're probably not going to get what you want. So you want to probably go right on in and just lift very lightly, roll the tissue up a little bit, and think about how the cloud will maybe go across the sky in a place or two. You just certainly don't want to make it like little cotton balls, but you can make it more like a little strata or a little fluffy cumulus cloud. Very soft, very subtle, no hard edges, and that's an easy way to do a sky using just basic paint and a Kleenex tissue.